everyone, we're excited to get this gardening season started, and I know a lot of you are anticipating getting out in the garden as well. Well, today we have a project for you that kind of allows you to take advantage of those warm winter days. So if you had some trouble or some challenges with your garden last year, you might consider building a raised bed. This is really a two-person weekend project. You just need some basic hardware tools to do this, and for about $200 in materials, you could have a nice big raised bed like this as well. So we're going to show you how to build this. Let's get started. First of all, you're going to want to gather some supplies. You're going to need 12 2x4 by 8 foot pressure treated boards. You're also going to need 3 sheets of 8 foot corrugated galvanized metal panels. We'll need a box of wood deck screws, a box of metal to wood screws, and a box of pocket screws. Then finally, you're going to gather some tools that you likely have around your house, including a saw, a drill, some clamps, a tape measure, and some tin snips. Now that we have our boards all cut for the most part to get started, if you remember, we started with 11 2x4 by 8 foot long boards. Now, 7 of those we've set aside for the time being. 4 of those we're not going to cut at all because we're going to use those as 8 foot links for our side walls. 3 of them are going to be our top rail that we're going to have to cut down a little bit, but we're going to wait till we finish building our box to know the exact measurements on that. Then we have 4 3 foot long pieces here. And again, those are going to be for our corner pieces. And then finally, we also have 10 19-inch long pieces. And you can see on these, what we've done is we've used that pocket hole jig to make 2 holes on either ends of these so that we just have a finer finished look when we're putting our screws in there. So you don't necessarily need that jig if you don't want to, but it kind of helps with those diagonal drill holes that we have to create with our screws. So we're going to go ahead and start now by building our walls first. We're going to start with one of our long walls, and for that we need 3 of these and then also 2 8 foot pieces. Now to start this long wall, what we've got laid out here is our 2 8 foot boards, and our 19-inch boards, the 3 of them, are really just going to be the space holders between the bottom and the top of that wall. So you again can see that we've got our boards kind of spaced out here. Of course, this middle one we're going to have to measure once we get the 2 outside ones done to make sure that we're finding that middle. But we want to make sure our pocket holes are up so that we can drill the screws right into this upper board. Now that we have the frames for our long walls constructed, it's time to start on the end caps. And those are going to be the short walls that we add to both sides of this. So for that, we're going to need the 2 3 foot boards that'll act as our top and bottom rail, and then also 2 more 19-inch boards that will act as the separators. All of these 19-inch boards were drilled with these pocket holes. So you can see now that we've got our screws in there and they're firmly attached to our end frames, we have a nice clean finish on the inside of what's going to be our box. Now, in order to construct our box out of our 4 walls, what we're going to do is start with one of our long walls. We want to make sure that the pocket holes that we've drilled with screws in there are all facing the inside of that box. We're then going to grab one of our short walls and add it to the end of the long wall. So instead of the whole raised bed being 8 foot, it's actually going to be 8 foot plus the thickness of the short wall. So we're going to add it to the outside of the long wall. And this is where those clamps come in handy because they kind of give you extra hands. In addition to the clamps, you'll also need a square so that you can make sure that when you're attaching your long boards with your short walls, that you are making that junction square. So put your square in that corner and make sure that all of your corners are flush with one another. It's very essential that you make sure every time you add a new wall that it is square in order to have a perfect box. All right, now we have our perfect box and we're well on our way to having a raised bed. But of course, the next thing we have to do is line it. So we've got some black lay down here that we're going to use. And this will just prevent any roots from actually kind of getting down. And mainly we were more concerned about the soil washing down through into the crushed granite as well. So there is likely still going to be some that washes out, but this will help reduce that amount. After installing the bottom liner, we attached 2 8-foot links of the corrugated metal to the inside of the long sides of the box. For the short end walls, we used the tin snips to cut 3-foot lengths of the metal. And you definitely want to make sure that you're wearing gloves when you're working with this metal because it can be very sharp. We use screws to attach the metal to the wood frame. After the box is lined with corrugated metal, we still have some wood to attach for the top rail. For this, you will use 2 of the 8-foot boards for the long sides, and then you'll need to cut 2 3-foot 1-inch lengths for the top of the short ends. All right, and now we have the top frame completed and our whole raised bed completed really, but that top frame is really what's going to be nice. It kind of acts like a seat when you're gardening here. It also really protects your fingers from that corrugated metal edge, so it kind of finishes it off. Now, before you fill it, there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind. So if you didn't construct it in the place that you're going to keep it long term, you want to go ahead and make sure you can move it at this point now before you fill it. The other thing is we haven't, while this is treated lumber, we haven't stained it or anything like that. So feel free to stain it or paint it or water seal it at this point before you fill it. And that'll just kind of protect it long term as you go through those seasons. And then finally, you do need to fill it, of course, to make it a raised bed. And we've done a few different videos on how to do that. But one of the recommendations I always have is for people to find materials around their garden to fill it first so that it can reduce how much soil that you actually put in there. But this will get you set to start next season. We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.